I'll open the meeting at 5. Okay, so the first item is to approve the agenda. I would like to propose a change to move the non-hearing item number 7 on the agenda up to be number 4 as of the other 3. Is Darwin here?
Yes.
That would allow him not have to sit through the whole meeting. Anybody have a problem with that?
Gotta find it in my.
If not, can I have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
I move to approve the revised amended agenda for January 18th, 2024.
Second.
Those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I didn't hear Michelle.
Oh.
Are you on, Michelle?
Sorry.
I'm
Michelle,
here. Yes, whatever.
Thank you.
Okay.
sorry about that. I'll have to do better. Okay, consideration of the minutes for the design review board meeting of December 11, 2023. Any amendments to the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, I have some amendments to the minutes.
Okay,
The motion which I made to approve the minutes of the October 19th meeting. I don't, to those present at the meeting means that I would revise it to say, Lawson moved to approve the minutes with the amendments that he read into the record. I haven't looked to see if that was done.
okay.
I have a couple of other. Just in general, the tone of some of the entries is we wonder and then everything and something is explained to us. It seems like we state something that we believe and then often a separate opinion is described to us. So just in general, I mean, I can go through with a whole bunch of changes, but that's something to think about for the future, that the kind of the tone of many conversations is that we're kind of wandering around. I think we should think about that in the minutes.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Is that reflected somewhere in the minutes? Or
Well, throughout.
what would you revise?
Well, there are so many, but it's similar for all of our minutes up until now. Like Malagira believes that the orange color falls under the day glow. And where she already stated that the orange color of the sign permit application falls under the day glow. So, and that was her statement, not just like, oh, she sort of believes that.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
What you just said will be listed in these minutes.
Mhm.
So would that suffice to reference the past minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. No, it goes all the way back. It's just and just something to think about on the tone and I'd be happy to sit down and talk about it if you're putting some minutes together. Beyond that, I would, as revised, I would move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody not in favor? Right. Okay, now we have a new section called public comment, and this would be a time for anyone who wants to address the board on a subject not related to one of the items on the agenda. Is there any such person? Yes.
Can I just quickly, it's a non-hearing items. So it's not just items not on the agenda, it's non-hearing items from the agenda. So they can talk about a non-hearing item such as like the signs, but not any of the hearing items.
Okay,
I'm Jan Siebert Warman, with lots 778 Kennedy. I just wanted to thank everybody, whoever had a hand in this, for allowing the public comment period before the meetings. I asked for it at the retreat with the city council, and I'm very pleased that it's happening so quickly. And I've also heard that it's going to be happening at the planning commission meeting next week. So thank you, everybody who helped change it.
thank you. Steve?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I was just gonna have a couple of words. Obviously, you see Emily's not here. I just wanted to thank Emily for the service that she provided. We're lucky enough to have Tessa Fun joining us. She'll be our new staff member. So our planning department's fortunate. You might recognize Tessa as you come in through the front door. So she won't be there anymore. She'll be hiding back in the trailer with me. So we're very fortunate to have her joining us. Want to thank Jen for really being a big part of the transition, helping Tessa and us all out and doing the minutes. And then Carrie Richter is here this evening as far as the city attorney this evening. So just wanted to let everyone know. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I appreciate it.
Okay. We're now up to election of officers and not sure that's involved there. Need to,
I moved Dave Doring continue as chair of the design review board.
Second.
I don't have an objection to someone else sitting in this chair, if you're interested.
Are you saying you're declining my?
No, I would decline it, but if somebody else would like to throw their hat in the ring, I might. Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
Michelle, do you want to be the chair?
God, no.
Okay. All those in favor,
I
Aye.
any opposed? Okay,
need to do the vice chair.
vice chair. I would suggest that Anita continue to be the vice chair. I would so move. If, I guess I can't, or can I?
Yeah, you're vice chair right now, right? Yeah, so I would second that.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
I,
opposed? Okay. Let's see, where are we at?
We're
Election,
gonna go down to 7.
public hearing and consideration.
On the last page of the procedures.
Yeah, I'm not finding it.
on here. I can get you that if you want. Yep, no problem. Let's see. This one right here, number
Oh,
7.
okay. There's no write up.
Yep, yep.
Okay. So this is a non-hearing item, DRB 2401, Darwin Turner, Cannon Beach Design Company, on behalf of Purple Sunset Premium Cannabis, freestanding sign, property located at 3115 South Hemlock. Application will be reviewed against the criteria of Municipal Code, Chapter 17.44. Design review criteria. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
No. I think we do the staff report first typically.
Pardon?
Don't do the
Staff report.
first.
Oh, okay. Going by the cheat sheet, and there's nothing on it. So
This is a non-hearing item.
Yeah,
I'm winging it. Is there
Yep.
staff
you're good. Yep.
There is, let me look at the proposed signage here. Good evening, the applicant, Darwin Turner of Cannon Beach Design Company, requests design review approval for freestanding signage in the limited commercial C1 zone at 3115 South Hemlock Street. The location of the building is an existing standalone structure. One sign is requested on the South Hemlock Street frontage in a location that was previously used for signage that has since been removed. The proposed sign has an above ground height of approximately 53 inches and a width of approximately 59 inches. The body will be rectangular with an upper portion consisting of 2 curves. Moving into the approval criteria that are found in chapter 1756 of the municipal code. Regarding regulations for general sign face area. The comment is that the sign face has been measured as approximately 11 square feet per side. And the sign would be 2-sided with a total area of approximately 22 square feet. This falls into the 24 square foot maximum allowed by CBMC 1756040A1A. Moving into regulations for the height of the sign. Based on the application materials, the maximum height of both the freestanding sign will not exceed 53 inches or approximately 4.5 feet in height above the existing grade. Regulations regarding sign lettering. The application materials state that the largest letter height will be 9.5 inches. Regulations for materials. The application states that the sign will be constructed from a 1.75 inch thick cedar panel and be painted. The colors to be used are white, full leaf, purple with a Pantone number of 259, yellow with a Pantone number of 134. And samples are included in the staff report. Moving into the base zone regulations for sign requirements. Subject property has a building frontage of approximately 41.5 feet along South Hemlock Street. This allows for a maximum sign area of 36 square feet, with up to 24 of those applying to freestanding signage. The proposed sign has been measured to have approximately 22 square feet. And then moving into regulation for the base zone for the freestanding signage. The proposed sign will be the only freestanding sign on the South Hemlock Street frontage, and that concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Public testimony on a non-hearing item.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's for the applicant.
so. Pertinent criteria to be considered or noted on the staff reports and listed in the criteria sheets. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or municipal code, which the person believes to apply. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements of evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue, precludes appeal based on that issue. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional testimony, arguments, or evidence regarding the application. The Design Review Board shall grant such requests by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written testimony, arguments, or evidence. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the chair, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing as a representative, identify whom they represent. Is there a presentation by the applicant? Further? Okay. Is there any presentation by opponents? Any presentation by opponents? So, no staff response.
Could lead to board discussion.
We would close the public hearing. Go to discussion.
I might have some questions for the applicant, so should we leave the here?
Yeah,
It's
Open,
not a hearing.
yeah,
so we can just ask?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So if there's questions, you could certainly have them come up and address those.
Okay, thank you. Well, I guess I'm wondering about that little circular sunset landscape and what that is made out of and how that's going to be applied to the sign. It's going to be painted?
Yeah.
By you? Huh. Wow. And that's where the purple Pantone 259 and 134 come in?
So the sign is double-sided and it's perpendicular to the street.
Do you have like a template or something? I mean, this looks really detailed. So I'm just curious how you're painting the sunset and trees and it looks like haystack rock in the ocean or something, or,
It'll be airbrush and hand painted,
okay,
paint and brush.
uh-huh. And that weatherizes pretty well. And what was the size of the sign, freestanding sign that was there previously?
Did we list that? I don't know if that was
I don't
listed.
think we it was approximately the same size.
Yeah, I don't know that we have the exact square footage, but it was similar.
Okay, so this isn't significantly bigger.
No, I mean, what we're talking about, each sign faces about 11 square feet, so about 22 square feet. So, you know, I don't know what the previous one was. I'm guessing it was close to the 24. Any ideas by chance, Darwin?
It's very close to the.
Same size.
The shape was slightly different.
I think this one's shorter. I think the other one was taller.
Yeah,
Okay.
this.
Okay,
Hey, I didn't hear what the materials were for the little haystack part. I didn't hear. I couldn't hear.
Yeah, could you please come up?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Is anybody else like getting mortuary from this, by the way? Anyone
What was that?
feeling like it's giving mortuary? Like, but whatever. I know we can't really talk about the content, but it really does look like a mortuary. Anybody? Okay, just me. Sorry, I have a cold.
So the circle sunset will be painted, airbrush and, you know, with a brush, hand painted, so. And paint.
do you hear that, Michelle?
Hear that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard it. Yeah.
Is it flat? It's just painted on
Yeah.
that surface?
Similar to basically what's behind, I guess, kind of.
So if it's coming, if it's coming in front of us and it's already the same, we're just approving the materials because it's the same place, the same placement, and that's it. So we're just approving materials here, right?
Pretty much.
Oh, there we go. Seems like, I mean, I don't have to like it, but there you go.
Okay,
Is there a landscape plan?
Just the landscape that's already there.
Okay, so that was put in by the previous,
Yeah. Exactly.
okay, and
So
that,
this is going virtually in the same spot as,
Yeah.
but
okay,
they took the posts
aha,
this
and
represents,
left it out, so,
right.
this represents a change of ownership of the.
yeah,
facility?
yeah.
Okay,
All right.
right. Anything else?
Hmm.
Have a motion, you approve? Or let's,
Motion to approve.
Mine is presented.
move to approve the sign as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And who made who introduced the motion?
Harvey.
Thank you, Darwin. Okay, so that brings us to quasi judicial hearing regarding DRB 23-14 Scott Rochelle applicant and property owner to demolish an old garage and rebuild a new garage with an accessory dwelling unit. Property located at 279 Canna Avenue in a residential moderate density R1 zone. Application will be reviewed area of municipal code chapter 1744.080 to 1744.100 design review. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review board to hear this matter at this time? Does any commission member, he or she has a conflict of interest? Personal bias? Has any commission member had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit.
I did a site visit. Michelle? Are you there?
What is it? I'm here.
Okay.
I'm trying to flip the papers around.
Let's see, where we have the staff report.
Okay, moving into the staff report. Bring up the proposed. Here, so the proposed project is the construction of an accessory dwelling unit in conjunction with replacement of an existing detached structure at 279 West Colcana. The proposal is brought before the design review board as exterior modifications to an existing dwelling are necessary to create an accessory unit are subject to review. The existing structure, which the applicant intends to replace, is included in the staff report. Moving into the approval criteria. These criteria come from the design review standards in 1744 and accessory uses in 1754. For 1754, an accessory dwelling. Staff comment is that the subject property is an R1 residential medium density zoned parcel that measures 75 feet wide by 100 feet deep and is improved with a single family dwelling that measures 696 square feet as per Clatsop County Assessor's records. The proposed improvement will be the only accessory dwelling present on the property. There are no guest dwellings or other accessory structures. other than the structure proposed to be replaced. Accessory dwelling units are a permitted use in the R1 zone. The proposed accessory structure conforms to established setbacks for the R1 zone. No occupation is proposed in conjunction with this improvement. Moving into the design review standards and requirements, the site design evaluation criteria. The staff comment is that the neighborhood of the subject property is residential in nature and consists of detached, single-family dwellings and their accessory structures. The subject property is 7,500 square feet, and setbacks in the R1 zone are 15 feet from the front and rear property lines and 5 feet from the sides. Based on the application materials, the proposed accessory structure will conform to established setbacks for the R1 zone. The primary dwelling is a pre-existing non-conforming structure that was built in 1927 and does not meet established setbacks. However, as no improvements are proposed for the primary dwelling, the applicant is not required to make that structure conform to current setbacks. Moving into the architectural design evaluation criteria. The staff comment is that the proposed accessory structure is a two-story building that will measure 20 by 30 feet, 600 square feet on each story with a height above grade of 23 feet. The accessory dwelling unit on the second floor will have exterior stairs and eastern and southern walls of the structure. The R1 zoning district allows for structures with a roof pitch under 5/12 to have a maximum height of above grade of 24 feet. As per the application materials, the structure will be clad with cedar shake siding. The application does not include information about the exact model of exterior lighting fixtures to be used, but does state that they will be downcast fixtures. Moving into the landscape design evaluation criteria. The staff comment is that the subject property does not currently have any significant landscaping improvements and largely consists of a grass lawn area with some low-lying vegetation along the rear fence line. No trees are present on the property and no removals are requested in conjunction with this application. The application materials indicate that the existing grass lawn is to remain and no significant changes to landscaping are proposed as part of this application. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Or any additional correspondence? Had something.
Yeah.
No, there has been no correspondence since the last week's email that was sent out.
One from Jeff O'Neill.
Correct. That would be exhibit D1.
We need to read that into the record or
Totally up to you as to if everyone's read that. I don't think there's the need, but if you want, we could certainly highlight some of the aspects of that email if you'd like.
right. Well, basically, they're objecting to the revised second story, which they say blocks their view of the ocean front. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I thought it just said that it blocked their view of Haystack. Not of the ocean.
Is on the ocean. Okay.
Okay, like part of the ocean, so not the,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Um, So we'll have a call for public testimony and statements. The pertinent criteria to be considered are noted in the staff report and listed in the criteria sheets posted on the meeting page at the city's website. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or municipal code which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements of evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal based on that issue. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional testimony, arguments, or evidence regarding application. The design review board shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written testimony, arguments, or evidence. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the chair, then state their full name and mailing address, and if serving as a representative, identify who they represent. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello, good evening. My name is Scott Rochelle, owner of 279 Gold Canyon Avenue. I'm requesting this application approval due to the fact that the current structure that is there existing right now is, since it was already stated on the record, was built in 1927, is no longer usable, as well as it does not meet Cannon Beach codes due to the setbacks. Currently, it is needs to be torn down and demolished because of the age of the building. By doing so, that's why I'm requesting to build an ADU on top of it. I know there's been a lot of talk here in the last couple of years due to the shortage of housing for Cannon Beach businesses that have employees that cannot find housing in the area. And so my wife and I decided to build an ADU there as well to accommodate that need for the possibility of people that need housing in Cannon Beach. By doing so, I've hired Kyle Hofstaff, the contractor, and hired Vito Sorelli as the architecting firm to design the structure. I think they are there currently or on the line if there was any concerns or questions anyone had in regards to the construction of the project, as well as the architecture design of the project as well.
are there presentations by any other proponents? Presentations by opponents?
You know, would mind saying something as a proponent?
Opponent or opponent?
Proponent.
Okay,
My name is Kyle Opset. I'm the contractor for Scott Rochelle. The address, PO Box 1201, Cannon Beach, Portland. I looked over the opposition letter that you all have in front of you. And the one thing I just wanted to note is that the sketch that he shows where the building would be blocking base deck rock from its deck, I don't think that's accurate. The building is going to be under 24 feet tall. And if you look at that drawing, it's showing it being far above the home that is actually oceanfront there. And so I don't see that being an issue. So I think that's all I had to add, but if there's any other building questions concerning the build.
I have a question. And just let me say that, on the application, it calls it a garage. It's clearly not a garage. It's an accessory structure. Pretty much sitting right there, and to rebuild it, that's the application when there's pushed it back, would that still allows the same site that Steve was talking about, or why? I guess what I'm trying to find out is why you decided to keep it right there rather than maybe moving it to a different location on that.
Hey, Kyle, this is Vito Sorelli. I'm just going to comment on that. It's a good question. We did meet with the neighbors to the east extensively and walked into their property and looked through all their windows. and it was preference by the neighbors to the east that the building be placed in its current location, that it would be the least impactful from their view, and they didn't want to have basically a wall of a garage and the ADU next up against their kitchen and living room on the east side. So we worked extensively with them to place the building when we laid it out on the site.
If I may add to that as well, by allowing the building to be, currently right now, the existing structure is only sitting 3 feet off the property line, where we know for fact it needs to be 15 feet pushed back to bring it to code. By doing that, by bringing it back 15 feet, it now allows the neighbors directly east of my lot to have accessibility, or excuse me, visual accessibility of the ocean now from their downstairs kitchen, downstairs living room, and dining room now. Currently, right now, they do not have a view from their downstairs because the building being built in 1927 took that away from them. But by bringing it to code, they will now have the ability to look out down the street, Golgana, out to the ocean.
Okay. The dissenter email suggested that they would prefer you to have a one-story structure that was probably a larger footprint and have the ADU be at ground level. There's some reason why that wouldn't work.
Yeah, that would also interfere with the view from the part of the rear kitchen and dining, half of the dining on the lot to the east of me as well, because now you've widened out the footprint of the foundation and the structure itself. And plus, by doing that, it takes up a lot of the space of the lawn. We'll end up losing the lawn and everything to where it's still going to push it further into the lot. And then it takes away from the people on the east to be able to look to the south as well. I'm trying to accommodate their view from both different angles as well.
This garage accommodates 2 vehicles, is that correct? Or one? I think they're gonna need to have 3 spaces available with the residents and the ADU.
The garage would be for 1 parking spot, and then they also have 2 other, if not more, parking spots in front of their current residence.
That would be on the grass.
It would be on they have a gravel driveway.
There's
Okay. Okay.
Can I say something? Okay. I think this is a great design. I think this is a perfect area for an ADU. It's not really disturbing anything. I know this area really well because whatever, my best friend lives on the next street. But I'm super pro this design, and I'm not really worried that there's a partial obstruction of a view when there's a lot of view available. And I'm excited that they're thinking about renting to workers in the town. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Any additional staff response?
No.
No?
Is there any landscape plans maybe, because it is such an open, and just to kind of soften up, I mean, there's a lot of wall space on that east side there. And maybe also on the south. I mean, it doesn't look like there's many windows there. So that they're
no, great question. The current shrubbery that is currently around the existing structure right now will be saved. It is not going to be discarded. I plan on to have it uprooted and put on the existing south end flower beds for now, temporarily, until the structure's finished, and then put back. Currently, there is 1 rose plant, 2 fuchsia plants, an Easter lily, and a hydrangea plant that will be put back. as well as additional planting. But one thing that concerns me about putting any more additional planting, as we all know, I kept it with more grass there because of the fact that we all know we have a large elk herd that seems to congregate. They're always in my yard throughout the year, which I'm an advocate for. I love the elk. And we know what the elk like to do. They like to eat just about everything that's in your yard. So I didn't plan on doing any more landscaping, just kind of kept it limited to grass.
Well, good luck on keeping all those plants alive while you do your construction. But I'm sure that we could provide a list of elk resistant plantings maybe for you to consider as
That
well.
would be fantastic. That'd be fantastic. I know everything that I've planted out there so far, they seem to enjoy eating.
That's true.
Anita's an expert on planting.
I know. I would say that.
I
But,
would say that.
well, those are, I think, all the questions that I have, and I appreciate your contractor and your architect, so I have full faith in their work and ability and style and
Okay, if there's no additional testimony,
I think we need to ask for opponents.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
since
Nobody jumped
there
up.
was a letter that asked for extra time to go over some, I guess, more plans, do we need to allow that?
Yeah, I think, and Carrie, if you want to chime in on this, if I'm incorrect at all. There was a letter from Mr. O'Neill that discussed the aspect of, asking for more time and a continuance.
Right.
And since this was the initial evidentiary hearing, well, typically the, board is, required to do that. If the board was gonna do that, we'd want to set a time certain for the meeting to be continued to. If that's the case, right now, we could just forward it to our next upcoming meeting. That tends to be, we have a little bit of time with regards to this one. So if you wanted to continue it for now, staff would suggest that it would be for February, our February 15th meeting that's coming up.
Wait, I didn't hear. Did you say we have to?
That's correct.
Oh, we
Could
have
you-
to continue it.
This, at this meeting, and if I'm wrong, Carrie, please feel free to chime in.
Okay, I have an issue with the February 5th date. Can that possibly be changed to the 22nd?
Planning Commission meets on the 22nd. I mean, there's an ability to potentially change it, other than the 15th, but that date is selected. So, if we're gonna change it to a date other than our typical meeting, we'd want to try to do that today, just so we have something that everyone can agree to. And because we don't want to, if we table it until March, now we're starting to get close on the 120-day clock.
Well, I have a question for Carrie. So if we wanted to go ahead and approve this, even though we're obligated to continue it, is there a way to maneuver that so that we can make a motion for approval, yet grant the continuance, like for 7 days, or is it one or the other?
Unfortunately, state law says that at the initial evidentiary hearing, anyone can request a continuance, and that continuance must be granted, and the record has to remain open during that time, so you all can't make a decision until the record is closed.
Okay,
So we could schedule a special meeting sooner than the February 15th. If that was the board's pleasure, but we have to grant the continuance upon request. My question, I guess, to staff would be, did Mr. O'Neill ask for the continuance because he wanted to get copies of the full-size plans. Has he received those?
No, he has not.
These are the only plans that we have. Now, there is an unidentified individual. I just have a number 19712 who has been raising their hand since we've been talking about this. I don't know if this is Mr. O'Neill or not. We could ask that individual if it is him, where he would want to go with this.
Cause we could do the 777 or something like that, where we just take
I
seven.
don't know if we need to do that.
Let's hear from him.
Yeah.
Ask this person to unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I've been trying to chime in. Somehow we got stuck on a muted item, so I apologize. For the record, Jeff O'Neill. I'm here with my wife, Tiffany O'Neill. Address 272 West Tanana, Cannon Beach. And yes, we did submit this information request for additional information, as well as our concerns in regards to architectural design evaluation criteria, primarily in the area of 17.44.090. We are not opposed to ADUs. However, when we look at the structure, we're having an incredibly tough time drawing a correlation right now with what's being presented with the height of the structure versus the adjacent properties. So currently today on this existing lot, you have a single-story structure. You have this current structure that is looking at being demolished to have the two-story structure built. And then immediately to the west of that, which is on the ocean front, you have another single-story structure. So we're having a hard time looking at the single-story structure to the west of the proposed new structure and the impact that we have at the scenic vistaways, which would include, as we did with our crude illustration, but Haystack Rock and one of the needles looking out of the Pacific Ocean. We understand there's a lot of conversation about the property to the east. And however, we're the property directly to the south that shares the actual property line with the proposed development. We have not had a chance to review information in detail. This first time that we heard that the 23-foot height was the height for the structure that's being proposed. And with the setback going into what it's supposed to be with 15 feet off the front versus the current 3 feet, we understand that will help improve the view to the neighbor to the east now that we have heard due to setting the property back. I guess we're trying to understand if you set the property back and went with a single-story structure that would match the structure on the property and the structure to the west of the property on the ocean front, maintaining a levelness of single stories running towards the ocean in that area. What impact that would actually have to the property to the east while mitigating the loss of scenic byways that we may experience from our property, as we do not have a way of relatively accurately judging the 23-foot height in comparison to the structure that's next to it.
We're just finding out that tonight.
So again, we are requesting more time to review the plans. We're requesting more time so we can get an idea to understand with the proposed improvement going within the setbacks 15 feet back and then extending another 30 feet deep into the lot and then taking it to a height of 23 feet, what that is in relation to the properties and what that does to the views from our property looking out towards the scenic byways.
Understandable.
And again, we're not against ADUs. We believe it's a great thing, or improvements, including helping the labor force in the town, as we greatly enjoy Cannon Beach. But, again, we're looking at as properties flow from the Rochelle's current residence they have there to the proposed residence to the residents of the west. A single-story structure would maintain single-story structures running towards the west, towards the ocean, along those three structures. And is there a way that the ADU could accommodate being built as a single structure on that piece of property? And then again, with a 15-foot setback, would that mitigate any loss to the person to the east that today has some potential loss because the current structure being proposed to be removed is only 3-foot setback versus the full 15 feet if it was brought into compliance on the new construction? So again, once again, we are looking at the criteria of 17.44.090 in regards to any loss or obstructions to the current scenic byways we have today, which are identified as horizons of the Pacific Ocean, but primarily include views of Haystack Rock and one of the preceding South Needles.
Okay. You have something to say to that?
I did, yeah, just listening to, I believe it's Mr. O'Neill. Just kind of what came to mind there is that Scott Rochelle's home that is on that property is under around 700 square feet, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking at doing a 600 square foot ADU with a 23-foot height. If you look at Mr. O'Neill's home, it's the third property back from the ocean. As we know, we've got lots of two-story builds, oceanfront, second lot back, third lot back, including Mr. O'Neill's build, which is, if I'm not mistaken, and Mr. O'Neill, please correct me if I am, looks to be a home that is 3,000 square feet or over. And it's certainly
No. It's actually 1,886 square feet.
Thank you for the correction.
And
the ridge line, excuse me, the ridge line on Mr. O'Neill's is certainly a fully built two-story home. And I just want to point that out because oftentimes I find that there are people that are interested in rules for others, but not for them. That's just a thought.
If I can make a comment to that, since there wasn't, and I didn't mean to cut you off. Currently on the street that I have the home on today, on Tenana, from oceanfront to my next door neighbors directly to the west of me, to my residence, to the home to the east of me, are all a series of two-story structures. And majority of them have been two-story structures for decades. So in regards to that, it's uniform on that side of the street as we look up and down. And again, as we look towards the north of our property, it's looking at homes that similarly follow a flow as you go from east to west towards the ocean. Again, the uniformity would lie well with single-story structures running down, versus the side of the street I'm on today is predominantly on my same side of the street, 2 stories running west to east, east to west.
I'm Jan Siebert Orman, PO Box 778, Cannon Beach. I just had a question. I'm not a proponent or an opponent at this time. I just wonder, when people say they're going to build an ADU for the workforce, do we have any kind of legal proof that they have to sign or something when they say that they will, once it's built, actually rent to the workforce? Is there any kind of?
No.
So it's just this person's
There is
intention.
there is a restriction on using ADUs as short-term rentals.
Right.
This has been in numerous staff reports and approvals. Every time we get an ADU, I think we generally reference this. They have to be rented for 30 days or longer when you're renting them out, which means no short-term rental. That's the only restriction that we can really place.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so they could rent their home in short term.
The house itself, potentially.
Yeah, so.
This is the loophole that we're looking at, whatever, that we're looking at in the code, where they can rent out their main house and not rent out the ADU. But they can rent out the main house and then list it on Airbnb and whatnot, but say they have extra rooms available. So this is something that we're actually looking at the code, and I do believe that we're going to tighten the code so that that this is not going to be a problem in the future by the time that we actually get to this part of the code. So I do believe that this is actually going to be tightened up. And I don't know.
I guess I would ask our attorney if there's any way that we have any control over that.
Oh, I've already asked that, Harvey.
Well,
We can't.
She's here now. She's here now.
Oh, oh, sorry. Go on, Trey.
So the design review board's authorization is to review design and landscaping and siting on property and not the use itself. And no, we don't have in the code any authority to impose a condition that would require that this owner not short-term rent the house they live in, the house that's there now, or the ADU.
Thank you.
I'd like to,
Can I add one more comment? This is Vito. I know it sounds like this hearing is going to continue, but I would like, I don't know if everyone has the packet, but it would be great if everyone did look at the opposition's packet. I think it is page 4, showing their views from their second story. And just when it goes this next hearing, it'd be great if everyone looks at Exhibit D1. It looks like every page is Exhibit D1, but they're page number 4 listed. And the 2-story impact, it's a 2-story house across the street of the garage, and the ADU across the street from the applicant's house, as well as the oceanfront house is about a 1.5-story house. There's 2nd-story living. So I think it is an exaggeration of the view of Haystack Rock, but also, regardless of that, is the view from their noted addition. There's the scribble of the new addition to the left, showing both needles. About 3/4 of that view line is all ocean horizon and the Pacific Ocean and the beach. So I think, one, this is an exaggeration of the height of the structure, and 2, it, in my opinion, being, what are they, 3 or 4 houses off the ocean front, they still have a substantial view of the ocean. And by benefiting the neighbor to the east, I think this is a win-win for the neighborhood.
Jeff O'Neill again, if I can just make one additional comment, and granted the oceans, the iconicness of Cannon Beach is Haystack Rock.
Oh my God.
It is, and the needles that correspond with it. That is the iconicness. That is the majority of the iconic scenic byway of the Cannon Beach area. I guess a question I would have that I have seen before in other locations, is there a potential of getting story poles erected on the site that would show the 4 corners and the middle pitch height of the roof of 23 feet? That may allow for a very good conceptual or a reality of what the impact of that structure would be in looking from our adjacent property.
If that were done, I would like to do a site visit. That time.
Who would do that?
can I ask a question, please? The question I have is in regards to, first of all, what's concerning whether I have an existing structure there or not, or let's say I had no home there on that lot. City code does allow me to build a 2-story home on that piece of property, does it not?
Yes.
It's a different question.
It is.
Not when there's already an existing home, no.
No, if there was no existing residence on that piece of property whatsoever, is it zoned that I cannot build any 2-story type of structure on that lot?
There's a height limit of 28 feet for a 512.
If you're 512 or higher, it would have a height limit of 28 feet. If you're below a 512 roof pitch, it would be 24 feet.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be reviewing this if it weren't for the ADU. So it's really a separate question. We have to do the continuance anyway. Let's schedule our meeting, do the continuance. I'd like to request a site visit. I think that it's difficult to see how much we're going to obstruct the view without being there.
And I would welcome that, and would absolutely, accommodate and would like to accept that. And if we can schedule that, that would be terrific also.
When would you plan on doing that? when can that site review be scheduled?
Who would be
I
responsible?
can't tell who's talking. Who was just talking?
Yeah, this is Harvey. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm available almost anytime. But others may want to attend.
Who would be responsible for putting up these poles or whatever you want to demonstrate the height and location of the new building?
You really only need one pole. It's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think if there was one pole to show the roof height. And then, of course, we'd have to get an idea, probably the best place of that pole would be placed at the roof height of the back, the furthest south portion of where the structure is going to be, because then obviously you can project forward your sight line then going forward from that point, as well as to the right and to the left of that story pole.
Right.
Does your contractor have the ability to do that for us?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure Kyle does. Do you, Kyle?
Yeah, I could figure out some way to put up a 23-foot pole on that structure. I'd like to know kind of a day. I don't want to leave something up that tall for very long with the winds that we have around here, and because it would be something that could potentially fall onto the neighboring home.
The easiest thing to do is to just have a 23-foot pole and walk around with it. And you're done. So
I
whenever,
would just need to meet you there then.
it's easily done.
Great. Yep, definitely.
Is there a way could we schedule that for mid or late next week at the soonest? I mean, weather permitting, et cetera. It's been a rather unique time over the last several days, everywhere around, so.
Can I ask a question real quick? Hey, Cherry, what are the thoughts about the design review board going out the sites and things like that individually as groups? Could you just speak to that a little bit?
Sure. If we're going to have a quorum of the board members visit the site, we have to notice it as a meeting and we have to take minutes of the meeting. So my preference would be that we send one or two board members to this date certain event, or we ask the applicant to provide photographs that the board can look at in a public meeting. This site visit, however you schedule it, will not change the need to also schedule a special meeting. It sounds like you're looking at a date in February where you can proceed with the continued hearing.
Right.
So I don't know if it sounds like there's not an ability to just have something that it would be up for a few days and people could drive by or something individually. I mean, that would be probably the most ideal scenario, is if we gave, I don't know if we wanted to give, like, say, if we could agree on a time frame, and then that day individuals could go past the site like you do a typical site visit. That would probably be the best way of handling this.
Or if we do 2 and 2.
Right.
I don't feel like, for me, I don't feel like it's necessary. I know that area really well, and I don't feel like it's necessary, but if you want me to, I will. But
I would encourage the commissioner or the participants on the planning commission. I'd like to meet you and allow you access to our piece of property, both interior on top of the deck, so that make sure that you have a full scope of what's being looked at with the story pole is going to be present.
okay, absolutely.
I second that. I agree with Mr. O'Neill. I think all parties need to be involved in this. Personally, myself, along with the O'Neills, as well as our contractor and the city representative, so there's no miscommunication.
Tell me
Again,
when. I'll be there.
Again, Carrie, I'd ask the question, and this sounds to me like we have all sorts of ex parte contacts, all sorts of different things that we're setting ourselves up for, and I am hesitant to agree to what we're speaking of, not in terms of the conversation and looking at it, but just how it could impact the hearing, and I'd like to hear from you again on that.
Well, my preference would be that the board agree to send 2 representatives. And those representatives can report back to the group at the hearing, disclosing their conversation that they had. Given that the poll we can't ask the contractor to stand up there for a whole day while we wait for board members to come by. And I really think that, you know, the board should be able to agree to identify 2 people who can be available at the date that you all identify.
Thank you.
I do not need to go look at the poll, so.
Yeah.
Dave.
The
They just told us we should.
other aspect is that you'd almost have to be up in Mr. O'Neill's house to see.
That's why he's volunteering.
Yeah.
Have you see it?
Um,
But I wouldn't
We would-
propose this, except it seems to be controversial, how much of the view is going to be obstructed. And so somehow we need to know for sure.
Could I add one note? This is Vito again. It'd be great if Mr. O'Neill and the applicant also provided a photograph of this view, because we would really like to have something on the record here just related to the code.
That
You know,
might be-
if it relates that the height of the structure does not unreasonably block or greatly degrade the view, it'd be nice if we get something on the record. It's not just a opinion from a site visit with the owner of the property.
I would almost prefer that you just put a poll up and take a picture and then make it part of the record for when we meet.
From the home. A picture.
From home, from the deck, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fine too.
And then that mean I would be coordinating.
Sounds like you and Mr. O'Neill would be coordinating where he wants to see your poll, and then somebody would take a picture.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Well,
Correct, that's the request.
and I should be present as the homeowner of the as well. So I'm there to ask any or answer any questions as well. This is Scott.
All right, so now we just need to determine when.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be?
It may be worthwhile that we simply kind of do what we do and let the applicant and the owner
Yes.
figure out a time certain to do this stuff together and provide that back to the board prior to the next hearing.
I would agree with that.
So again, the next meeting is on February 15th. Obviously, the chair can't make that. I don't know if we want to have a special meeting, if we want to have it on that date. That's, I guess, leave that up to the board to discuss.
Is the 11th work?
I'm gone from the 7th through the 16th.
Can we all Zoom like in like a week?
I mean, that's possible, but I guess the one thing I would say to that is there's also probably going to be some coordination on the applicant and the neighbor.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So you're not able to Zoom on the 15th, Dave? Is that why we all need to change the date?
Right. I'll be 30,000 feet over the Pacific.
So as long as we had three, I mean, I'm not saying that we don't want, I'm not suggesting that, but if the minimum we need is three.
Is that okay with you, Dave?
That's fine. But we can share the meeting.
Well, the only concern I have is what might be on the agenda for February. If it's any one of the projects potentially.
There's another issue coming up with one of the later items tonight that's going to require a continuance.
And regarding February applications, we've only received one and we're at the cutoff date.
Okay.
It is for some relatively minor exterior modifications to some condos down by the fresh foods market. But that's the only application that we have for February.
Okay.
Can we set up something where somebody holds the poll and then we go like back to back and just get it done?
I think, Michelle, that we're discussing just having the applicant and the contractor go to the property and
Yeah.
then submit for the record when we meet again from the continuance. So we wouldn't need any of us to do a site visit.
Okay.
Well, I oppose that. Being that I'm the applicant, I would like a city representative there as well to verify this as well as my contractor there. He'll be the one supplying the 23-foot pole. If we're going to have to go this route to have a verification done. Because photos are misleading, as we can see right now in this photo right here. My understanding, it's misleading to everyone. So I would like to have a city representative there to visually look at it as well.
I mean, I guess Robert and I could go, but just because we're there, we're just there to observe. We're not there to provide any type of opinion one way or the other.
No, I understand that, sir. I just want to make sure that there's a city representative there because to visually see what's being done. Are we placing the pole in the accurate place? Or is the pole accurately the correct height? Because photos are misleading, as we already know in this picture here we have currently.
I just want, this is Mr. O'Neill again. I don't want to take great offense to the fact of, but the pictures were the pictures. Nothing was intentionally done to be misleading.
No, I understand that, Mr. O'Neill. There's nothing, it's best that there's local representation there from the city as well to look at it as well if we're all there. And then we start taking pictures at what angle and to make sure that it's all in everyone's liking, that's the correct picture we should be taking.
And I would agree, Mr. Shell, no disrespect. This is the first time we were made aware of this is when we received the application in the mail. So we are trying to wrap our brain around it, which is why we asked for the continuance as we look through the ordinances.
Oh, and I have all due respect, Mr. O'Neill. I completely understand your concerns and I have concerns too. I just feel that being that we're going to do a site visit, I think it represents the best interests of you and me and the city to make sure that we're all following the codes that are being applied to this to make sure that it is an accurate representation of what we're looking at.
And I would totally agree with you. Actually, I was the one that came up with the idea for the story poll. So I more than welcome this getting to an objective view. Definitely.
Staff could meet with them.
Great.
Harvey, would you want to?
I don't have to if you guys are going to be.
If anyone, if an individual, again, Carrie, if I'm speaking out of tune here, please correct me. But if there's a member that wants to come with us, we have no issue with that. That'd be fine. If no one wants to come with us, that's fine. However you want to handle it, but we'll go.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have to set a time for?
Well, I'm super confused now.
The one thing we're probably going to end up doing is continuing it. And I think the idea was that staff would meet with the owner and the neighbor who had some concerns. And there would be the ability to potentially take some photos, provide that documentation back to the board at the date of the next meeting that we're gonna discuss right now in terms of if we're gonna continue this until our next regularly scheduled meeting on the 15th, or if we're gonna select a special meeting date.
Okay, so we have to continue it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm open to any scheduled time that Mr. O'Neill would like to schedule to meet. I don't know what his schedule's like, but I do have openings. I just would need to know when.
Okay, I think that the parties can work this out with staff, not during the time of the board meeting. I think you all need to move forward with scheduling your special meeting or moving forward with February 15th and a motion to continue to that date certain, whatever you decide.
Thank you.
Would we get notification to the committee members that wish to be present to take pictures? Let's just say we selected a date of the week of the 29th of January. Obviously with the poll being up, and I respect what you're saying with trying to move the meeting along and make sure it's staying on task, but how would we best coordinate communication to finalize an actual date that works for all parties?
You can you can talk to staff about that and they will schedule it with you.
My name is Steve Sobolowski. I'll reach out to you and then we'll probably email one another and figure out some dates and set that up.
Terrific. I appreciate it.
Great. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for the commission's time.
Thank you, everyone.
With that, I think we're still down to the date.
well. February 15th, I guess, is our next meeting. I would be at it.
Can't change your plans. Leave Hawaii early.
Well, Boeing may be changing my plans if they don't get their airplanes back in the air, but
Let me tell you what's available the following week.
That would be fantastic.
Okay, so the week of the 19th, the council chambers is available Monday, the 19th. Wednesday, the 21st, and Friday, the 23rd, but
Yeah, I would say we're looking at 19 and 21.
19 and 21, they're both, those dates are available that following week.
I would vote for the 21st.
I vote for the 19th, but I can,
But I
Whatever.
don't care. Yeah, either works.
Is there a
Yeah.
holiday 19th or is that the 26th?
The 19th
oh, it's
is-
President's Day.
Sorry,
So 19's not an option?
City Hall is closed. I mean,
Okay, so 19th is not an option, so it's down to the 21st.
Okay,
Fine.
This would be our regular February meeting on the 21st.
Yeah, I don't think, if you guys don't, I mean, I guess this is up to you, but the thought would be I don't know if we want to do the 15th and the 21st. My recommendation would be that we just reschedule the 15th to the 21st, if that's what we are gonna do.
That would be my preference. Do you have a problem with the 21st?
works for me.
Works for me.
I'll make
Michelle?
it work. I'll make it work.
Okay, let's do it on the 21st.
At 6 PM, correct?
6 PM.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we would need a motion to continue.
Motion to continue the hearing to our next meeting on February 21st.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Okay, we're now down to public hearing and consideration DRB 24-02. Quasi judicial hearing regarding Glenn Miller applicant on behalf of Cannon Beach Conference Center to remove and replace existing siding and install new siding. Property located at 288 Hemlock Street is a residential motel zone. Application will be reviewed against the criteria of the municipal code, chapter 17.4.4. Design review period. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review board to hear this matter at this time? Does any commission member believe he or she has a conflict of interest or personal bias? Has any commission member had an ex parte contact or made a site visit?
Site visit.
I think in the past. Good. Staff report.
Their application. Proposed project is a replacement of existing siding. Front building, and it's on here while I bring the correct page. Front building at the conference center at 288 North Hemlock Street. The applicant intends for the beachfront building to match the look and feel of the nearby Pacific View Lodge, which also belongs to the conference center. No changes in site design or landscaping are proposed in this application. And for reference, on the image on the screen, the beachfront building is the building on the left, and the Pacific View Lodge is the building in the photo on the right. As there are no changes in the site design or landscaping as part of the application, those criteria have not been included in the staff report. And we're only going to be reviewing the architectural design criteria from chapter 1744-090. And the staff comment from this is that the applicant proposes to remove the existing light gray vertical siding, a vertically oriented siding, and replace it with new siding that will consist of LP Smart Side siding that will be painted with Sherwin-Williams SW 2850 Chelsea Gray and LP Smart Side textured shakes that will be painted with Sherwin-Williams SW 7068 Grizzle Gray. Renders of the proposed modifications indicate that the two siding types will be used in a way that breaks up monotony and improves the overall visual character of the building. Those structural changes are proposed as part of this application. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. All for public testimony. And criteria to be considered are noted in the staff report and listed in the criteria sheets. Testimony evidence must be directed toward the criteria. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by evidence sufficient to decision maker precludes appeal based on that issue. Prior to inclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional testimony, arguments, or evidence regarding the application. Design Review Board shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional testimony, arguments, or evidence. Persons who testify shall receive recognition from the chair, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing in a representative capacity, identify who they represent. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Miller. I'm the maintenance manager for the Cannon Beach Conference Center, PO Box 943, Cannon Beach, Oregon. This project that we're looking at tonight comes about because the current horizontal or vertical lap siding that is on the building is showing the wear. The building was built in the 60s and it has lasted a while, but we're seeing some significant dry rot going through the siding. And we're looking at changing this to a different type of siding, because the vertical lap siding has a tendency to the boards warp, and then it provides gaps for water to get into the building. We believe that the design that we provided will give us the best weather resistance. I'm going to invite Jamie Lowry to come up and speak too. He's a conference manager, and he's also on staff at Cannon Beach Conference Center. He's the one that is responsible for a lot of the design and colors and things like that related to the buildings of the conference center. So I'm going to let him talk about the design right now.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie Laurie, Director of Conferences at the Conference Center. I reside at 288 North Spruce Street. And I just wanted to go over just basically from a design point of view, we wanted to bring in, as we were looking at, is what Glenn mentioned, that the building need to be refaced and redone. So we wanted to, this is an opportunity for us to bring kind of the aesthetic of that which we've kind of established with a newer building. The other building, which is, we call it Pacific View Lodge, just across from the Whale Park, and then bring that look and feel into this existing structure. One of the key features of that, of course, is the horizontal lap siding, and then also the cedar texture shakes. And so we wanted to bring that same kind of look and feel into this building, and that, again, the same color kind of structure that we have on the Pacific View building into this beachfront building. So again, we have a continuing look and feel to our property on both sides, since we have guests that use both of those structures often. So that was the design intent, again, to create a good look and feel that obviously up-leveled the look for our guests, for our visitors to Cannon Beach, and for residents of Cannon Beach as well, within the overall look and feel of Cannon Beach town character. So that, from a design perspective, is kind of where we landed on that. Again, all the other, the same kind of treatment, white paint will be applied to like what it is currently. It's just the changes of color on the siding in the addition of those, the cedar shakes. Any questions on this?
Are they actually cedar shakes, or is it some artificial?
We're looking at both, but right now our proposal is actually they're artificial ones that we actually paint to get as close as we can to an actual sheet. Again, just cost is an issue. So we're trying to find out the best balance of cost to look and effect.
I'll add to that, to the imitation shakes provide a continuous board across for siding, which sheds the water better than the individual shakes. And so we're, because it's right on the beach, there is a tendency to get a lot more wind and rain, driving wind and rain. So we're trying to do whatever we can to avoid penetration of the water.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Questions?
Well, I'll have some comments, but I think I need to wait until after any opponents or that,
Well, do you have
before we have a discussion. Or-
question for the applicant?
Well, I think my comments are more discussion items, and
Okay.
then if there's a
Alrighty.
question, then you could ask.
Is there a presentation by any other proponents? Presentation by any opponents? Additional staff response? No. Okay. Ready to move to conclusion? Want to do your discussion now?
Well, my discussion is going to be towards our criteria for architectural design, which states the design avoids either monotonous similarity. That's A. D is the design avoids monotony and provides visual interest. E, if the project includes a large structure, the design avoids a monolith expanse of frontages. So I guess what my discussion is that you've got two conference center buildings all along that entrance to Hemlock, and that they're going to look very similar. So in that, they're going to create a monolithic visual, and Cannon Beach Conference Center holds so much property and is so similar looking that I guess I would like to see something a little more unique to your design so that it breaks up that monotony and the colors in a way that is compatible and aesthetically fits within the each character. So I'm not quite sure, looking at this, trying to be sensitive to your costs, what that might be. If it's just different colors, could be a simple consideration. Maybe, but I guess I would just really like to see it broken up, you know, where I understand that your feel is that it just is continuous, but going by our design review criteria, we're looking, and I'm seriously looking, because of the conference center's expansive property, that something different would be done.
Make a comment to that? So I'd say thank you for your comments, and one of the things that really makes a difference is that both buildings have a different footprint, and there's a lot of different architectural elements to both of those. So this particular, again, is an older building that we're again trying to, I think just by the very putting on a new face to it will look really good, obviously, because right now it's quite old and it needs a lot of upkeep. But we've added just enough to it that it feels like it's connected, but does not feel like it's necessarily a completely extension of the other building, just because the architectural elements in this building are quite different than the other building. So you're going to still not feel like you're connected in the sense that it's really a continuation of exactly the same building. It's just a bit different. So we just added some key components. If you look at our renders, there's a render slide in here. You can kind of look at that. It's the last page, which is page 6, I think, E6. You can see where we kind of brought in, yeah, that's correct. Just there's little components that kind of pick up design intent from other, you know, basically bringing a little bit more architectural, elevated architectural look and feel, especially this tower element in there. We're actually breaking that up, because before it was all exactly the same color, and it was like talking about a big, you know, it didn't break that up. And as far as an architectural focal point, we didn't have it here. And so bringing that kind of idea in the front here really feels like it matches that architectural design intent. So it breaks up that whole entire monolithic kind of thing that you just talked about. I think that design works really well. But we certainly can explore some, if the color is the issue, and we can certainly explore other colors.
Is it the same color as the
It's slightly
building?
Yeah,
is.
the building color has a specific mix to that color, which we can't find out what that is. It's been known for so long, but it will be slightly different. It won't be exactly the same color.
But it would be similar enough that you would know that it's the conference center.
Yeah.
I'd like Michelle to weigh in, our color expert, and see what she thinks. Michelle?
Anita, don't call on me. Jeez. I personally, like, I mean, I don't love the color, but it's way better than what's there. I mean, truth be told, it's better than what's there. Fine with it. Oh, and I meant to say thank you, everybody, for putting the color call outs in. I'm sounding worse and worse as the meeting goes on. Sorry. Yeah, I think the color is fine. It's not what I would pick, but it's fine. That's it.
Harvey,
Well,
you,
I think you have a good point. Look, it flanks the city park and it's sort of, is the city a part of the institution? Or does the institution fit in here? And that's, I think I see what you're talking about. I wonder how do you feel about the shakes? There's some really good synthetic shake now that lasts forever and they look good. How about what would you think about that?
I'm all about shakes, whether it's the artificial, so, and that's in looking at this, I was wondering if, you did half shake and then half, or if you switch the colors. I mean, just something to change it up a bit, just to change up the monotony, that when you're driving into town, that they look like they're separate, in a way. Because I feel like it's gonna be so monotonous that you're almost gonna miss our wonderful little whale park. And that's where, being sensitive to costs, if there was any way to either change the colors or just change the materials, placement a little bit, but yeah, the more shake, the better for me.
Yeah. Agree, absolutely agree on that.
Yeah.
Would you consider that?
I think the best option here is again, we've looked at cost, material and what work best is probably just to look at the color. And I think overall, we can just adjust that slightly. Again, we have a color palette for the whole entire conference center that we're trying to look at that fits the, without being too intrusive, works with, again, the town character. We really are sensitive to that. So we want to make sure it works with our neighbors and with the environment. So we don't want to be very sensitive to that, but we can certainly look at another color that is not as close to the existing building, but we wanted something that's different than what's on there now.
Yeah, well,
freshen that up, of course.
you have support from your neighbor, so. Yeah, I don't know, how do we determine, I mean, do we just say we like it, but can you do a different color? Do they have to come back or?
Could I
Yeah.
comment on that? And I don't know if this would make any sense or if you guys, what your thoughts are on this, but on the rendering, that shows kind of the rear of the, building along the beachfront, they have the shake on the south end of the building. Yeah, would it make any difference if we wrap the corner of the north end?
It actually, if you look at the rendering.
It does wrap.
On that
But
end.
not on the ocean side. What I'm wondering is wrapping the entire corner and whether or not that would, balance out the shake on the one side. And I don't know how far over anyone would think it would need to come, but maybe just wrapping that corner.
So like going to the middle, halfway between the first and second windows.
Maybe I think something like that would add a little bit just to wrap the corners.
I thought about that, but then,
And I'm not saying that's right, but
Yeah.
I think that would make a difference. I don't know. And you guys, obviously can discuss this further. I don't know if adding another color is the right thing to do either.
not another color, I was saying a different color,
Sure.
so,
Yeah, and a different texture.
yeah.
Okay, then I would, with that, then you're probably talking about, I would try to give the applicant clear direction in terms of what the expectation might be and what areas or things like that, so they hopefully can update maybe some drawings and bring them back to the board and have them adequately address your concerns.
So in a different rendering that we had done, we had looked at on the bottom picture, the front right there, doing that entire front piece in shake as well. And it's hard to tell from the picture, but between the windows on that lower
more picture, between the windows is shake throughout the entire side there. So like I said, we had talked about that and that's an option that we could probably easily do, would be to do the end of the building there with shake with the darker color.
Mhm. So do we need?
It'd be similar to continue to ask for updated renderings.
Okay,
To me, I hadn't thought about this until Anita brought it up, but when you come into town, you do wonder, am I coming into this conference center or am I coming into Cannon Beach? So this may be an opportunity to break that up and take a different approach. So it isn't so institutional right there.
Right.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
We understand, absolutely.
Consider a different color for the window frames. The
Right.
white.
And bright white.
White. Well, again, that
I think the white compatible with our village. I mean, there's a lot of shake with white trim, so I'm more looking at just having it be basically the same color. And as I said, I'm all about shakes, the more shakes, the better.
Yeah, but the bright white versus maybe a muted white. Yes. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of a darker color of brown or something.
You're talking about for the body of we're thinking darker brown or?
No, the window frames, the window trim. But I don't.
It's a different window trim than the building across from it. That might be good.
So what do we want to do? We want to have a motion. We continue the hearing, ask for revisions to the renderings.
Well, if that's, yeah, I think what we're asking is just a different color, different, material finishes type of a look.
material finishes as far as the lap siding goes.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned with the window trim, but just the,
But Dave is.
the siding and the shakes, I guess, for color. If you want to put more shakes on, letting us see where you're thinking about doing that. I like the idea of putting it on that east side is what I'm understanding. On the Hemlock side with the poles there on the street view, or shake there, maybe. But just mostly just breaking it up. Yes.
You want to move for a continuance?
So
I think, I don't think I'm clear. Are you guys clear? Cause I'm not.
yeah, I'm not clear how we do it either.
There's color, definitely, right? If we're looking at the body, we're gonna change the color. The siding, we could look at a different material. I think we did a lot of research on what would work best. Again, for the.
Oh, I was just reading material and finishes. I wasn't meaning you had to use a different material. I just was the color and then just the shakes, I guess, was the material. If there was going to be more shakes.
So you're thinking location of the shingle?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Not different type of materials, but
No.
using the same materials, but maybe adding, like we talked about, maybe the east end of
So,
that
yeah.
one piece to break it up a little bit.
Yeah. And then whatever other color palette you guys are working with. That might be different. So in that motion, do we need to specify?
I think there's a decent discussion. I think it's just a matter of making a motion to continue.
Okay. And then that would just automatically be at next month's.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, and so we'd motion to continue till the next, I'm sorry, what, I already forgot the date.
February 21st.
Oh, thank you. February 21st.
I move we continue this hearing until February 21st.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm opening a cough drop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We've all been waiting for.
It's almost 8. Do
We want to take a,
have a break before?
yes, that would be great.
Okay, we're back. And the next item on the agenda is a quasi judicial hearing regarding DRB 2403, J. Erloff, Design on behalf of Patrick LLC to build a new detached multifamily development with detached garages. Property located at Forest Lawn and Hemlock Streets in a residential medium density R2 zone. Application will be reviewed against the criteria of municipal code chapter 17. Design review criteria. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review? Does he believe he or she has any ex parte contacts or made a site visit? I did a site visit. Okay. We're ready for the staff report.
Thank you. Just going to ask Carrie a question real quick. We had a little technical glitch with the TV and the camera here a second ago. I just want to make sure you can still see and hear us.
I can. I missed you for a second there, but yeah.
Yeah, the camera seems like it turned off and restarted, so I just want to make sure that that's all working before we go forward.
It's going.
Thank you. Moving into the staff report, the proposal is for the construction, and allow me to bring this up here. Proposal is for the construction of a two-family dwelling consisting of 2 detached dwelling units on a single undeveloped parcel of land on the north end of Forest Lawn Road. Subject property is zoned R2 residential moderate density, and two-family dwellings are a permitted use in that zoning classification. The proposal is brought before the design review board as all new development except for single-family dwellings or manufactured homes and their accessory structures are subject to design review or subject to review. The municipal code defines a duplex or two-family dwelling as a building or buildings containing 2 dwelling units with or without a common wall or ceiling, and where there are no direct interior connecting doorways. Close quote. This application meets the definition of 2 dwellings without a common wall or ceiling. In addition to the 2 dwelling units, this application includes a separate detached garage with storage areas that will contribute to the proposal's off-street parking requirements. The subject property is an inventoried wetland lot of record, and a conditional use permit application CU 2304 is scheduled to be heard by the Planning Commission on January 17th, 2024. That meeting has been continued to January 25th of this year. The conditional use application is for the establishment of legal access to the upland portion of the subject property where the applicant intends to construct proposed residential dwelling units. As of the date of writing, the commission has not yet rendered a decision on that application. Moving into the approval criteria, which are found in the design review standards from section 1744 of the municipal code. Moving into the site design evaluation criteria. For item number A, regarding the arrangement of functions, uses, and improvements. Comment is that the proposed level of development appears consistent with existing single-family dwellings along Forest Lawn Road. The layout is intended to make use of the upland portions of the subject property in order to minimize impacts on the delineated wetland. The majority of the subject property will remain in a natural undeveloped state. Item B, in terms of setback from the street or sidewalk, the staff comment is that the site layout with the 15-foot front setback from the property line along Forest Lawn Road that is required by the R2 zoning standards. An additional setback of approximately 20 feet will also exist between the edge of the developed portion on Forest Lawn Road and the western property line, as the roadway has not been developed to the full width of the platted right-of-way. To item C, regarding the design incorporating existing features such as rocks, slopes, or vegetation. The comment is that the site layout is designed to avoid intrusion into the delineated wetland area and make use of the upland portion of the subject property. Item D, which applies to projects which are unusually large or located as to become an introduction or transition to the city. The comment is that the project is not unusually large or located in a manner that it may become an introduction or transition to a particular neighborhood or beach. Into comment E, regarding where appropriate, design relates or integrates the proposed landscaping open space to the adjoining landscaping open space in order to create a pedestrian pathway. The staff comment is that the proposal is for a low intensity residential development in a residential neighborhood. There is no apparent need to develop a publicly accessible pedestrian pathway that connects to different properties. Moving into criteria F, with regards arrangement of improvements and the degradation of scenic values. Staff comment is there is no apparent conflict with this criterion that has been identified with the application. Item G, the improvement on site does not deny solar access, light or air within the site or adjacent structures. Again, no apparent conflict with this criterion has been identified. Item H, where appropriate, the design includes a parking circulation system that encourages pedestrian rather than vehicle orientation. The comment is, the application's parking plan provides for 2 off-street parking spaces and a standalone garage on the southwest corner of the property, which is connected to the walkway that will provide access to the dwellings. A second off-street parking area with 4 9-by-18-foot stalls is located to the northwest of the dwelling units along Forest Lawn Road. Due to a plat restriction, access to the site must come from Forest Lawn Road, and the site cannot be accessed from South Hemlock Street. Moving into item I, regarding the arrangement of improvements on the site, not unreasonably blocking or degrading scenic vistas. Again, no apparent conflict with this criteria has been identified with the application. Into item J, regarding the function and elements of site design being integrated into a unified whole. Staff comment is that the elements of the site design are designed in a manner that appear consistent with this criterion. The level and nature of development appears consistent with other residences in the surrounding neighborhood. Item K, giving attention to the placement of storage or mechanical equipment. The staff comment is that as per the site plan, a refuse and recycling enclosure will be provided on the southwestern corner of the garage. Item L, which relates to visibility from Highway 101. This criterion does not apply to the application as the site is not visible from the highway. And the final criterion in this is that the arrangement, functions, and improvements of the site have been designed to provide access to and within the site for individuals with disabilities. The comment is that the site would be accessed by a 4-foot 6-inch wide pedestrian boardwalk that would connect to improved sidewalks with similar width that provide access to the residences. Due to the relatively flat nature of the terrain, there is no need for ADA accessible ramps or similar improvements in order to be able to navigate the site. Moving into the architectural design evaluation criteria, I'm going to move down here into one of the building's elevation renderings. It's for the south, this is the north residence south elevation. Moving into 1744-090 architectural design criteria. Criterion A, the design avoids either monotonous or similar excessive or monotonous similarity or excessive dissimilarity with existing structures. The comment is that both dwelling units and the detached garage will be 2-story structures that will be clad with a combination of cedar shingles, cedar shiplap, and hardy board batten siding, which reduces monotony across the structures. These materials are commonly found on structures in the surrounding neighborhood. And Exhibit A3 is a materials board, which shows the materials and paint that the applicant would propose to use. Moving into item B, the size, shape, and scale of the structure are architecturally compatible with the site and surrounding neighborhood. Comment is that the application materials indicate that the northern dwelling will have a total square footage of 2,067 square feet. The southern dwelling will have 1,865 square feet, and the garage will have 1,111 square feet. All 3 structures will be less than 24 feet in height above grade. Moving into item C, I'm going to bring the materials board back up. Regarding the proposed materials and colors and their compatibility with the coastal setting of the city. Exhibit A3 details the materials and colors to be used on proposed structures. These materials consist of naturally colored cedar shingles, shiplap, and hardy board painted with Sherwin-Williams SW 6258 tricorn black, exterior stone siding, and a black metal standing seam roofing and gutters. Moving into criteria D. Design avoids monotony and provides visual interest and charm by giving sufficient attention to details such as pattern, texture, and etc. The comment is that the application materials indicate the design will use a variety of materials and muted colors. Item E, regarding if the project is a large structure or structure such as a motel or condominium. This application does not apply to this criterion does not apply to this application. Item F, regarding the size and village landmark. Again, this criterion does not apply. Moving into item G, the height of the structure is architecturally compatible with the site and the surrounding neighborhood. The height of the structure contributes to village scale. Staff comment is that all structures proposed in this application will have an above grade height less than 24 feet. The scale is not dissimilar from other structures in the neighborhood. Criterion H, the height of the structure. Again, degrading scenic values, and again, no apparent conflicts have been identified. Similar with criterion I, regarding views of scenic vistas from neighboring sites. And again, with J, which it deals with solar access. Item K, the design sufficiently addresses relationship with the structure and sidewalk and pedestrian activity. The criterion does not apply as it is not a commercial development. Criterion L does not apply as no signage is proposed with the application. Moving into item M, which addresses lighting fixtures. The staff comment is that the application materials indicate that exterior light fixtures be a Modern Forms Balthus WS W28516. Product information indicates that this fixture is dark sky compliant. Moving into criterion N regarding elements or building improvements and conservation of energy. There is no direct information that addresses this criterion. And criterion O, which is the design of the project ensures continued privacy for occupants of adjacent structures. Again, no apparent conflicts have been identified with this application. Moving into the landscaping design plan, I'm going to move back up to the site plan here. On criterion A, which addresses the natural environment of Cannon Beach and character of the site, staff comment is the subject property is a wetland lot of record, and the site is designed to avoid impacts on the wetland and its buffer area. The tree removal plan indicates that 5 of a total of 40 identified trees will be necessary to provide sufficient space for the construction of the north and south residences. No tree removals will be necessary for the detached garage or separate off-street parking area. Item B, harmonizing with the landscape design harmonizing with architecture. Staff comment is that no apparent conflicts with this criterion have been identified. Moving into C, design acknowledging growing conditions for the climactic zone and unique requirements of the area. The landscape plan does not indicate that non-native species will be introduced to this site. Moving into D, provisions being made for survival and continuous maintenance of landscape. The comment is that landscape plan does not indicate that non-native species that require special care and maintenance will be introduced to the site as part of the project. Criterion E does not apply as these no amenities for the public are going to be provided with this application. Criterion F, the design making use of existing vegetation and incorporating indigenous materials. Comment is that the landscape plan does not indicate that non-native species that require special care and maintenance will be introduced to the site as part of the project. G, selection and arrangement of plant materials providing visual interest. Again, the application materials do not provide information about planting locations if revegetation is necessary. Item H, hard surface portion of the design makes use of visually interesting textures and patterns. Staff comment is that the plan utilizes hard pavement only in the area around the detached garage. All walkways and patios west of the pedestrian walkway will consist of crushed gravel. Item I, regarding design providing visual interest through a variety of elevations. Subject property does not have significant slopes that provide for a variety of elevations. J, regarding the stabilization of slopes, again, there are no slopes that would require stabilization. Criteria K, regarding the delineation and separation of use areas. The comment is that the design provides for separation between the 2 residential structures and the accessory structure. The identified wetland buffer area provides a separation between the proposed development and delineated wetland buffer and its 5-foot buffer. And criterion L, the lighting fixtures and level of illumination being compatible with landscape design. Again, we have addressed the lighting fixture information. I'm using the Balthus WS W28516 fixtures, which are dark sky compliant. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Robert. Is there any additional correspondence?
No, the most recent correspondence was received yesterday from Rosie Dorsey. That would be exhibit. Just looking here. Exhibit D1, that was received yesterday, the 17th, and I believe that has been sent out to the design review board.
Yes. Among other things, she's also requesting a continuance. And in light of the ongoing discussions that the planning commission is having with this project, I think a continuance is definitely in order.
Well, since one has been requested and this is the initial evidentiary hearing, we would have to grant that continuance request.
Okay,
That is correct, Robert.
so do we proceed with the presentation by the applicant at this point, or wait for the continuance to do that?
I guess that would be up to you guys. I don't know if there's anything right offhand that anyone would want to address from a design perspective at all. If so, we could hear it out. We could have a little bit of discussion if you want. Otherwise, there's the ability to just continue. Carrie, would it be best to still hear from the applicant and any proponents or opponents prior to that continuance?
It would be up to the board, but
Okay,
typically, since this is a public hearing and people may be prepared to testify, it would be appropriate for the board to hear that testimony and then provide any feedback that the board may have at this point so that folks can respond to any comments or concerns that the board members might have during this open record period.
Okay. So pertinent criteria to be considered or noted in the staff report. Testimony must be directed towards the criteria. Failure to raise an issue precludes appeal based on that issue. Design Review Board shall grant such request for continuance of public hearing, which has been requested, and persons who testify shall first receive recognition, state their name and mailing address, and if appearing in representative capacity, identify whom they represent. A presentation by the applicant.
Would the board mind if I stand? Thank you. Jay Orla, Boulevard Design, PO Box 563, Cannon Beach, Oregon, representing Patrick Dave LLC. Good evening. Thank you for your time today. I'm just going to sort of walk down through the design criteria through our drawings with you. I assume that you do have our packets in front of you. I'll start with our site design. Our site design and layout of the buildings was a direct response to the impact of the existing trees on the site and the availability of buildable area due to the wetlands. We have taken in great consideration the wetlands, not only in regards to its 5-foot buffer, but an additional buffer of the foundations surrounding the wetlands in order to make sure that we do not impact the buffer itself with our construction. I'll start with the garage, which is off of Forest Lawn, which is our allowable access point. The residents will be numbered and identified off of Forest Lawn. And this is our only access for parking and garage. And that hence is our location for the garage. Our only hardscape is for the asphalt driveway leading to the garage from Forest Lawn. Access to the structures will be through a crushed gravel path across a footbridge spanning the point of the wetland. The structure of the footbridge will be outside of the wetland so as not to impact the buffer. Crushed gravel paths will follow along the available buildable area to a north and south residence. Residences, let's take a look here. So in regards to our layout again, we have been going through Planning Commission, and this is a similar layout to what we presented in size and scale. So we are not deviating hardly at all in any way from what we presented to our planning staff and or commission. The design of the structures if you look at, going to the large site plan, I'll talk about the trees that we are removing. As noted, there are 5. They are in direct correspondence to the footprints of the structures. We have worked with an arborist to provide and his consultation on where to place these buildings. As we have no neighbors technically to the north or east, we're not looking at any visual impacts, any solar access or sight lines that would be impacted by the locations of the structures. I can move on to I prefer to move on to our elevations to speak about the architecture and design. As noted, our structures are at a lower height of 24 feet, low slope roofs, combination of hip and shed. This is consistent with similar buildings in the area. However, most of the area buildings surrounding the structures are at 28 feet with 512 pitches or greater. So we are at a lower elevation. The makeup and design of the finishes are a combination of natural and painted surfaces, utilizing board and batten, painted, natural cedar, natural shiplap, stained, accenting both upper story and lower story combinations. North and south elevation or north and south residents are similar in design. I'm not looking to do something completely different in each one. Same thing with the garage. I like to have some sort of community sense that these are in combination and have relationship to each other. The differences are in between the north and south residents is that on the north residence will be the main body, and most of the finishes is cedar shingle compared to south residents, where cedar shingle would be on the north. We're using shiplap siding, square groove shiplap. Both the cedar shingle and the shiplap siding are to be stained a natural color to maintain their light finish. And the board and batten accent and upper floors to be tricorn black, along with our window trim and fascias. Corner boards reflect the color that is surrounding it. For example, board and batten tricorn black will have tricorn black corner boards. Cedar siding or Dave, would you like a moment? You need a moment? Okay, all right. Shiplap siding.
Wait till the meeting.
The shiplap siding and the cedar shake will have corner boards relative to their finish as well, so that we have some continuance between the finishes. Again, low slope roof, metal, black finish along with our downspouts and gutters. The idea behind the finishes is that we were looking to blend into the environment. I'm not looking to do something that's going to stand out. It is fairly well shielded along Hemlock and Lawn. We do have a lot of greenery in the area, and the buildable area is an island within the wetlands. I'm not looking to, again, I'm not looking to hide it. If I'm trying to hide a structure, I'm not doing my job correctly. I'm looking to blend it in with the natural environment. And that leads me to our landscape plan. As you notice, we did not really note additional non-common greenery that's in the area. I don't want to, I'm not looking to put hydrangeas and flowers in it. I want, when they're done with this project, I want the wetland to become part of the buildable area. We know that elk travel through here. I want them to come through. I want them to be in a natural environment, even though we have designed and built these structures within that environment. I would like to see my intention is that the natural environment be restored after we're done. So what we have our crushed gravel paths and we have our houses, and everything surrounding it is as it was before we got sort of 5 trees, which we are planning. We did provide a replanting schedule from our arborist for the replacement of those 5 trees in the surrounding areas. Beyond that, I'm really, we have an opportunity to do a nice small development here, and that's what I'm looking to do. These houses aren't extravagantly large. They're no bigger or actually smaller than if we had a 5,000 square foot lot. We're in that relationship, if we, for example, had built on a 5,000 square foot lot, we're all underneath our FAR and our lot coverage ratios. We just happen to have a very large site here, and taking advantage of the places where we can to build these. Beyond that, I would be very open to any questions or comments that you might have on this.
Thank you. I'll start with the positive, and that's I like your materials and the look and what you explained as far as buildings there. I guess first I might ask, and I don't know, this might not be within design review purview, so let me know if it isn't, but I'm curious about the garage and why you felt that is needed when it seems like your parking requirement's been with the parking pad that's been established. So why the 2-story garage?
We would like to have some sort of indoor parking. We had like garage parking for each of the units, in addition to some additional storage. Storage is always a lack of availability in houses. We don't have basements. These are slab on grade houses. The client is looking to have some additional storage for people and just an indoor spot to park your car. We are going to.
That becoming an accessory dwelling unit at some point?
Absolutely. That is not the intention at all. No, they're going to have to walk to the houses. It'd be nice to get out of your car and have a dry spot for a moment. Also, in relationship to that garage, I forgot to mention that we do, as noted from our staff, we do have the refuse on the southwest corner there. It is shielded. It is behind a slat system, so I'm not leaving that out in the open.
My other comment, and I will, it seems like I've been talking this whole meeting, but on the Hemlock side of the property, you say you're going to keep the vegetation as much as possible, and having, seen forest lawns since the early 80s, I would feel like I would want to see that maintained so that the name Forest Lawn still is pertinent to that area. Wondering if you foresee some trees. I mean, just looking at this, I can't tell. It looks like it's all bare along Hemlock Street for the most part. I'm seeing 2 trees maybe, but I'm just wondering that.
All that's existing there is there. We're not removing any trees from that area.
Okay, so anything along Hemlock, I mean, just as a, because it is a major street, just making sure that maybe that's.
Very much so. That's our intention.
Up for us. Okay.
Yeah, and we do, I don't have the tree replanting. Oh, there it is. We are replanting 2 additional trees on the Hemlock side and 3 on the Forest Lawn side. So we'll be improving it.
Okay.
If anything.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It looks like the wetland area, the wetlands areas must have trees on them too.
Yes, all the trees are shown in our site plan. And also in our SNF Land Services survey. And each tree is also cataloged and identified within our arborist report as well.
We didn't get the arborist report as part of our package. Which is something I would like to get before the.
We have the original report and we also have the commentary on our development as well.
Joe,
Is it
you
a-
have any-
Yes,
any-
sorry. So, I personally, I love that somebody is using R2 for what R2 is and building two houses. I do feel like we need some more housing. As everybody knows, I'm pretty pro middle housing. But the one thing I do have a question on with the design, and I don't want to like step on anybody's like expression. The ledge stone. I think it would be cooler if it was like a river rock or like, you know, something that we see around here. I don't really love that, but I don't know if I'm allowed to weigh in on that. I think that I am. So.
I unfortunately am not a very big fan of River Rock. Regardless of the area that it's in. I would rather see something a little more linear, but we can talk about maybe rather than a linear ledge stone, maybe something similar to what's on the lodges at Cannon Beach, which is a natural.
Oh,
basalt.
yeah, totes. That would be
And I
cool.
think that would be completely appropriate for this design as well.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like I'm nitpicking, but that's what we're here for.
No, I was part of the design of the lodges at Cannon Beach.
Yeah.
And I have used that stone on many, many different projects. And I think if it is a preference of the board, that I would be definitely open to suggesting that to the client.
Yeah, that's my one note. And we have to continue again, right? Because the planning continued. That's my other question.
Not necessarily that because planning continued, but there was a request from a person who submitted a letter requesting that the design review board continue the hearing.
Oh, and then other little quick question. It looks like the I can't read it. Corn black. Yeah, sorry. The hardy board is going to be that color?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. It looks like it, but I was like, oh, because I kind of like the gray, but you know, you be you.
I'm looking at the contrast between the dark color, the accent and upper body in comparison to the lighter color of the stained finishes of the natural wood.
Yeah, okay. Okay. That was just a slight side note anyhow. Okay, that's it.
One thing I did not address that I would like to is also the lighting of the structures. As shown in our materials board, we do have a downlight, a dark sky fixture. These are only going to be at the entrances of the structures along with the garage. All other lighting is done soffit lighting down. So we'll be highlighting that bodies of these structures down small 3-inch cans. And really, making them, lit if they want to be. Otherwise, it would just be the entry lights that would be there.
I'm always curious about what you do with your downspouts. Where does the runoff from the homes go?
Per the city code, I expect that we'll have to either connect to a storm or have on-site dispersion, which would be through a dry well. I've done quite a few of them. I can get them in barrels and bury them. The amount that we need would just be amount of gravel surrounding them. So we have available options there. I'd have to consult with Public Works on connection to city storm, just because of the proximity of the wetlands.
Yeah, you're so close to the wetlands.
Yeah. I don't want to dump into the wetland. I'd rather disperse within the site itself so that we don't increase the wetland area, sort of like what has happened that created the wetlands for that matter.
Exactly, okay. And the other thing is slab on grade, is that, you feel that's the best thing for that site?
It'll actually be grade beam with structural slab and helical anchor. So we have to deep foundation support these structures, and we'll be navigating root structures as well.
How deep is your foundation?
Our grade beams typically are 18 by 24. But I can, because I have some height available to me, I can move those up and down. I don't want the structures to be fully elevated, but I have to take into consideration the root structures of surrounding trees. Initially, we'll do a discovery excavation around the perimeter to find out where those root structures are, and we will address our foundation based on that information.
And then you're going to anchor also, it looks like?
Oh, we have to have deep pile foundation or helical pile because of the soil conditions.
So your slab is floating?
Yes, exactly. It'll be a structural slab. It could wash out from underneath it and the building would still be there.
So the piling is treated wood?
No, the piling will be helical anchors, which are steel pipe screws driven into a certain amount of torque, which resistance, which identifies stable ground. And that could be, that could be from 15 feet to 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an engineering report as well from Earth. I believe Earth Engineers has provided that. And we're working with the arborists on foundation requirements or recommendations based on professionals.
We ready for a motion for continuance?
Well, let's continue by asking if there are any other presentations by proponents.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any presentation by Jan?
Jan Siebert Warman, P.O. Box 778, Cannon Beach. Some of this may be repetitive. Okay. So dear Design Review Board members, regarding DRB 24-03, how can more than one house be allowed on a wetland lot of record? It seems to be stretching a Cannon Beach City Code beyond its intended meaning to allow more than one house on this forest lawn property. At last night's Planning Commission meeting, the CU 23-04 Forest Lawns public hearing was continued until next week on January 25th. No decision has been made yet on the conditional use permit regarding the establishment of legal access to the upland portion of the property where the applicant intends to construct the proposed dwelling units. Considering this, how can the DRB make a decision before the Planning Commission does? Wouldn't that be a cart before the horse scenario? Where are the plans for the proposed boardwalk? Are they included in the DRB packet? If not, shouldn't the DRB have the plans for the boardwalk in order to make an informed decision? Isn't the design of the boardwalk important to the site, architectural, and landscaping designs of this project? Again, until the Planning Commission makes a decision on the boardwalk, how can the DRB have adequate information upon which to make a responsible decision? For example, under the architectural design evaluation criteria, please see O on page 54, I believe, of your packet. How can the privacy concerns of Rosie Dorsey, the neighbor next door to this project, be determined by the DRB if you don't have the boardwalk design to consider its relation to her property? There is, in my view, an incompleteness to this DRB application. I also think there is still some question as to how the property would be accessed in order to build any structure at all. And I also ask for a continuance, which thank you, you've granted. And just too important of an issue to make a decision without your having all the pertinent information before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are my sentiments almost exactly. We do not have a complete package. We don't have the plans for the bridge. They were presented to the planning commission, but not included in our packet. We don't have the arborist report in our packet. All of these things that we would need hopefully will be provided before our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any additional staff response?
Those will be provided in your packets next meeting.
Okay. So we have a motion to continue the hearing.
I will make a motion to consider DRB 24-03 to our next scheduled design review board meeting on February 21st, 2024.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Michelle?
I tried to say aye, but you said opposed too fast, so.
Okay.
I mean, we have to continue, so let's continue.
Well,
Yeah, aye, I guess. Sorry.
I guess we're done with that. Next item on the agenda. Motion for chair to sign appropriate orders. Sign, I guess.
That's a non-hearing item, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're appropriate.
Yeah, there would be orders. I'll draft those up.
I have a motion for me to sign that.
Wasn't everything?
The sign was approved, yeah.
I get confused. I thought non-hearing, we didn't have to do that, but I can't keep track of that.
Yeah. Do you think we have to do orders on the sign?
We've done them in the past.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll do that. We'll continue to do the orders with the sign.
Okay. We need a motion for me to approve that or not?
That's up to you guys. The sign seemed like everyone was fairly straightforward on that one.
Okay.
I get confused on what non-hearing involves as far as motions and votes and things. I thought they weren't.
Pretty much the same in terms of everything except for the fact that it's not a hearing. So you act on it similarly to a hearing item. It's just that, like, again, you're taking on an administrative staff role in that circumstance.
Okay.
So what are we asking you to approve?
The sign item, first one we talked about.
So there's typically, like, anytime there's a formal decision, this is some of the things that we've talked about in terms of whether or not there's development, that there are findings and orders that are presented. And so in some of those, you've indicated that you may want to have those brought back to the full board. There are some that are minor that, like we might think in this instance, the sign, where the board may just indicate to staff and the chairperson, yes, feel free to sign the orders on that matter. And so I think that's what we're trying to ask at this point in time for the sign.
So, but there would be no changes to what we've already approved, is that?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. I would just simply be drafting up an order document for Dave to sign.
To match exactly what we approved.
Yep.
But I would so move.
Second,
Those in favor?
yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 8 on the agenda is review of previous design review meeting discussion items. This is something you asked for, Harvey. What would you like to review?
I would pass on that, given the time of day.
Okay. Michelle, do you have anything in that category?
My nose is totally clogged. I'm good.
Yeah, Michelle.
Go to the order. Talked about rescheduling the meeting. That was my item.
I would just, let the board know that I had, sent an email to Bill Kabizman as well as planning staff regarding, the sign ordinance. And after meeting with Steve, we're going to work on updating the sign ordinance language, so that we all have, a better understanding of, in particular, what other materials, qualified, for design review, approval, or just administrative, so that we're all in agreement. I think we're gonna work on that, but just to let you know that that's something. So if there's anything that the committee has to suggest or offer, in that sign language, that'd be great.
That be outside of the code review effort.
I think so.
If it was something, there's really two options. It could be incorporated as part of it. I think there's been some concern that the discussion was, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there are certain things that are happening right now that if things could happen prior to the code being updated, it would like to be done.
Right, just so it's clear sooner rather than later, as we get into more sign applications that
We can
they're being,
revise parts of the current.
we could
code.
add language.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are clarifications certainly that should be made.
Is this gonna be for the code audit or like, is this for like the way future or for right now?
I'm thinking that we're gonna draft some language or add to the language, update it. Carrie, if I'm not saying it right, correct me, but that we would update the language. It would go to planning commission, or we would be working with planning commission, and then it would go to council for adoption.
Okay, yeah, I'm confused because I mean, maybe but we're using so much vinyl on things, and I felt like that was not an approved material, like vinyl cutouts, and we've never approved of these things, and it keeps happening. And I'm a little confused on the language because I felt like it was pretty clear, but maybe I'm not a lawyer, so and I just feel like things are getting so far away from what is intended. And
Yeah, Michelle, there's not unanimity of interpretation, so we need to get it clarified so everybody's on the same page.
yeah, it's like vinyl is the new wood or something. I don't know what's going on. It's like there's vinyl everywhere all of a sudden, and it just looks bad and it's peeling. I mean, whatever. So if we could I realize it's not like the end of the world, but I feel like it would be cool if we could fast track that to stop this big vinyl blackout everywhere. I mean, I'm watching next to me, I'm downtown, I'm watching next to me the vinyl that was approved, I think 2 years ago for some reason, maybe 3 years ago. It's already like peeling and it looks like not good.
So Steve, how does that look? So would we, as the design review board, come up with language? Would we need to work in tandem with the planning commission so that we're,
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I'm wondering offhand is whether or not it would be worthwhile getting any type of direction from council,
yeah,
and whether or not there would be something from the design review board requesting, from council that the design review board be able to, take the initiative to start a zoning ordinance amendment. And so I think it might be worthwhile starting that way so that the council can say, hey, yeah, we agree with you. Feel free to move forward with that.
would we get any input from planning commission as far as definition of language though, so that we kind of know, that design.
Well, it's gonna have to go to
Design
planning
review.
commission anyways.
But are, that we're not interpreting it correctly or, just.
I think it would be staff and the city attorney.
Okay,
And so that's where we're talking about the unanimity that we have some differences of opinion. Plan commission, I don't believe is involved in signage really at all, correct? From a review standpoint,
Only if we get a variance.
yeah, if there was a variance, correct?
okay. I just didn't know how much jurisdiction they had over language interpretation.
Well, there's no question that they'll make if and when zoning or more ordinance amendment gets to them, they would certainly have the opportunity to review at that point in time. I don't see any reason why you couldn't speak to them in terms of discussion. So I guess that's just something I think will kind of
Okay,
a little bit fluid and maneuver as we kind of take this on.
okay. Right.
Anything else? Michelle, you have anything?
I think I'm good. I did do a presentation to the city council last year about the signs and nothing came of it, but I'd love to get this under control just because it's starting to get out of hand and kind of embarrassing, honestly, but that's it.
Okay. Harvey,
Nothing more.
I think we can adjourn.
Good night, Michelle.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, thank you.
Good night, Carrie.
Thank you.
Night.